Good day, everyone. I am Ellen J. Dore Campilan. I am going to continue the report of Miss April Anubal, which is all about the philosophical thoughts on education. So, since she already discussed the first three philosophers, let me continue the last three philosophers. So, the last three philosophers they are uh, George Counts, Theodore Brummel, and Paulo Freire. So let us start to George Counts 1889-1974, building a new social order. He wanted teachers to go beyond abstract philosophical conceptions of democracy and teach explicitly about power and injustice. He wanted teachers and students to count among their primary goals to building of a better social order. So here is it. Education is not based on eternal truths but is relative to a particular society living at given time and place. So it means that there is nothing permanent in the world. The only constant thing is change as the world keeps changing. So our our beliefs, knowledge, and the facts to information, language, and behaviors in this case. The knowledge and information we accumulate through the system of education is the only thing available for our reach. Education is not the perpetual truth. We are educated based on the resources that are only within our reach provided by our time and society. Next, by allying themselves with groups that want to change society, schools should cope with social change that arises from technology. So, in this situation, we are going to focus on how to be allies to people from diverse backgrounds and oppressed groups. Next, there is cultural lag between material progress and social institutions and ethical values. So, material culture usually changes much quicker than non-material culture. When this happens, it can lead to social conflict, ethical dilemmas, and moral dilemma. Next is instructions incorporate a context of a socially useful nature and a problem-solving methodology. So, problem-solving methodologies are processed through which a situation or issue may be analyzed and solutions implemented. This includes steps for understanding a problem, brainstorming possible solution, devising solution, executing solutions, and evaluating the result. Next, schools become instrument for social improvement rather than agency for preserving the coup. So social empowerment is understanding a sense of autonomy and self-confidence in acting individually and collectively to change social relationships and the institution and discourses that exclude poor people and keep them in poverty. Next is teachers should lead rather than follow it. Teachers are agents of change. Teachers provide the education that improves quality of life, therefore bringing so much to both individuals and society as a whole. Next, teachers are called to make important choices in the controversial areas of economics, politics, and morality because if they fail to do so, others would make the decision for them. In this essay, I will explore the role of the teacher in leading discussions of controversial issues in the teaching of social studies. The central argument is that teachers must consciously choose to enact a clear rule or exact a clear rule or rules when discussing controversial issues. Lastly, school ought to provide an education that afford equal learning opportunities to all students. So it means that all students have the right to a free public education, and the Constitution requires that all students be given equal educational opportunity no matter what their race, ethnic backgrounds, religion or sex, or whether they are rich or poor, citizen or non-citizen. Schools and teachers as agent of change. So, for George Counts, schools and teachers should be agents of change. Schools are considered instruments for social improvement rather than as agencies for preserving the status quo. Whatever change we work for should always be change for the better, not just change for the sake of change. Teachers are called to make decisions on controversial issues. Not to make a decision is to actually making a decision. Like Dewey, problem solving should be the dominant method for instruction. So it means that a teacher knows how to inspire and to lead change, can effectively prepare students for the many challenges of their future. Teachers can become agents of change within their schools, initiate and lead change process in their work, and make a difference in their classroom. So, and next is lag between material progress and ethical values. So, Counts asserts that there is a cultural lag between material progress and social institutions and ethical values. Next, a friend once said, the Egyptians had their horses. Modern man has his jets, but today it is still the same moral problems that plague humankind. So, different learning management systems are utilized nowadays by different institutions. This is an advancement in educational technology. However, not all students has the adequate resources such as internet or a gadget to be able to access. Some students will not be able to submit requirements on time or not at all. Furthermore, divides can be formed in a classroom because some students can access some, but some is cannot. This material progress can result to social conflicts among social institutions such as family and schools itself, because as these advancements emerge due to gadget instead of social interactions. The next philosopher, Theodore Brummel, 1904 to 1987, he is a social reconstructionism. So, he was considered the founder of social reconstructionism. He recognized the potential for either human annihilation through technology and human cruelty, and they used technology and human compassion to create a beneficent society. So, first let us know what is Reconstructionism. So, Reconstructionism centers on the idea of constant change and emphasizes addressing of social questions, a quest to create a better society and worldwide democracy. And it focuses on a curriculum that highlights social reform as the aim of education. So, according to him, as the name implies, social reconstructionism is a philosophy that emphasizes the reformation of society. The social reconstructionists contend that humankind has moved from an agricultural and rural society to an urban and technological society. There is a serious lag in cultural adaptation to the realities of technological society. Humankind has yet to be reconstruct its values in order to catch up with the changes in technological order, and organized education has a major role to play in reducing the gap between the values of the culture and technology. So, so the social reconstructionism asserts that schools should critically examine present culture and resolve inconsistencies in controversies and conflicts to build a new society, not just change society. So, Bramel believed that creation of a new social order through education would fulfill the basic values of society and harmonize with the underlying social and economic forces of the modern world. The child, the school, and education would be conditioned by social and cultural forces. The teacher's role was to convince his or her students of the validity and agency of the reconstructionist solution. In order to do his education would have to be completely refashioned um, to meet the demands of the present cultural crisis. So, like John Dewey and George Counts, social reconstructionists Bramall believe in active problem solving as the method of teaching and learning. Social reconstructionists are convinced that education is not a privilege of the few but a right to be enjoyed by all. Education is a right that all citizens, regardless of faith and social status, must enjoy. So that is all about for the Theodore Bramelt. Wait, so Theodore Bramelt also believed that education had a responsibility to mold human beings into a cohesive and compassionate society. The last philosopher is Paulo Freire, 1921-1927. He is a critical pedagogy and dialogue versus the banking model of education. So, what is critical pedagogy? Let us know this first. The belief that teaching should challenge learners to examine power, structures, and patterns of inequality within the status quo. It tries to help students become critically conscious. So, according to him, Paulo Freire, a critical theorist like Reconstructionism, believed that system must be changed to overcome oppression and improve human conditions. Education and literacy are the vehicle for social change. In his view, humans must learn to resist oppression and not become its victims nor oppress or others. To do so requires dialogue and critical consciousness, the development of awareness to overcome domination and oppression. Next is rather than teaching as banking, in which educators deposit information into students' heads. Ferris saw teaching and learning as a process of inquiry in which a child must invent and reinvent the world. Very critical pedagogy is problem posing education. A central of prairie pedagogy is dialogue. It is love and respect that allow us to engage people and discover ourselves in the process and learn from one another. So, what is dialogue? Dialogue is the basis for critical and problem posing pedagogy to banking pedagogy as opposed to banking education, where there is no discussion, only the imposition of the teacher's ideas on the student. So, the banking concept in education is a concept in philosophy originally explored by Brazilian philosopher Paulo Freire in his 1968 book Pedagogy of the Oppressed. The banking concept with education is a method of teacher and learning where the students simply store the information relayed to them by the teacher. So, um, why instead of tacitly promoting a perceived relationship through banking method of education, Freire chooses the process of critical pedagogy as his pedagogical model. So, this is because critical pedagogy utilizes a dialogue among human beings who are equals rather than oppressive impositions. Another negative consequence of the banking method is that students are not encouraged and thus do not learn how to think critically or to feel confident about thinking for themselves. So let us know how to be critically conscious. According to its Shore 1992, students can be critically conscious by thinking, reading, writing, and speaking while beneath the surface meaning. A student must go beyond myths, receive wisdom, and mere opinions. All of these education philosophers point to the need of interacting with others and creating a community and inquiry. As Charles Sanders put it, community of inquiry is a group of person involved inquiry investigating more or less the same question or problem, developing through their exchanges a better understanding both of the question as well as the probable solutions. A community inquiry will engage learners in active problem solving. So here the critical pedagogy, the final thoughts. One of the key of critical pedagogy is allow students to gain the necessary social skills to allow them to actively participate in a transformed and inclusive democratic community.